Good morning. This is Ron Brown. It's 10:37 a.m. Friday morning. I'm going to take you through some prospecting. We got a very strong market today. The Nasdaq is up 180 points right now. It was higher. I don't know if it's going to hold or not, but we're just going to go ahead and take a look at some things here. This is part of my webinar series called Unleashing the Power of HGS Investor Software. These are techniques to locate low-risk trades and control risk. And this statement, the market is your teacher. It's the best way to learn about stocks. Just watch the market. Don't listen to the gurus, people like that always have an opinion, and most of the time they're wrong. So stay away from the TV set, do your own analysis, and you can do all of this with HGSI and Thinkorswim. It's a great combination. Now, of course, I have to show you a standard risk disclaimer. Future stocks and options trading involves substantial risk of loss. We all know that. Any stock index or ETF mentioned in this presentation is not a recommendation to buy or sell. It's just for educational purposes, to show you how to use the software. All trading strategies are used at your own risk. Now let's get in here and take a look at this market. I'll go into my warehouse views, and I'm going to actually flip over to the designer. And I have what I call my market analysis user groups. I'm going to go into the first folder, 0 or 1, click through to the warehouse, and then I'll bring my quick pick up, go under my name. These are the files that I'm now using. I've developed for my webinar series. This is my new structure. I'm going to go into top-down analysis, index and ETFs. I'm going to use the intraday version since we're intraday, and sort on raw combo. And you can see the strength is in the Nasdaq 100 up 1.39, as is the SOX, as is the QQQ. What's down today is the Bitcoin Investment Trust. I see Bitcoin has dropped a fair amount today. But this is the way the market looks right now, just for a quick read. But this is just the surface. We need to really get down into it to see what's going on. Now, there are several ways to do this. You can look at the major ETFs and ETNs. I've got several of them in here. And here's the home construction, which has been very strong. You can see that it crossed the 3, crossed the 6, 19 days ago. And the volume point of control crossed 20 days ago. 0 is always the crossover day. Now you can see several of these ETFs and so on just started going up again. Let's look at the QQQs. It crossed over 2 days ago. The VPOC, or volume point of control, crossed over 3 days ago. So if I bring a chart up here, let's see what chart comes up. It's this chart I use the most because it has everything I want in it. It's got the moving averages, got the fan, it's got volume pocket pivots the way I use them. It's got the volume point of control, and when the stock is up, it's got the group up here. But this is a QQQ, and the crossover happened on this day right there. Hard to see it here, but it looks like it crossed over, what did I say? 2 days ago. Yesterday would be 1, and then the day prior to yesterday. So here's yesterday. It crossed over on this day right here after a pullback. But the volume point of control had already passed over. So I use the same method of looking for crossovers with stocks, ETFs, indexes, everything. It works well for all purposes. So I can keep going down. Here's the broad market indices. These are all indexes that are created by HGSI. On the intraday, it doesn't work because These are end of day indexes, so you just go back up to the top, which is end of day, and I can see what happened end of day. Now, if I go in and rebuild all these indexes, it says the 29th, which is yesterday. If I rebuild all these indexes, it'll say the 30th, because I'm going to be using data which is compiled right now. Let's just go down to the major indexes and sector, and I'm going to remember this is the 29th here. I'm just going to go into this. I'll close this because it builds faster. I'm going to go under Tools, Rebuild Indexes in a Group, and it's going to go in and rebuild all these indexes, including the sectors, the major indexes, all of the industry groups. So I'm updating everything at once, and it's pulling that data from Thinkorswim, which I'm updating automatically every 5 minutes. So it doesn't take long even to rebuild all these indexes. I just want to point out to you that the date is going to change. Okay, almost there. I should have paused the video, but I guess I wanted you to see that it doesn't take that long. Let's go back in, take a look at that, and you can see the last date is now the 30th. Why? Because I'm using current data, so this reflects what the indexes are doing right now based upon market cap weighting. That's what my settings are. Here's the SOX up 1.5, the Nasdaq's up 1.3, tech sector's up 1.2. I've got the sectors and the indexes mixed together so I can get a reading on all this. Now I want to locate the Industries Index. It's right here, 06. I'm going to change to that group, and these are all of the industries. And if I go up to the top, it's going to show me what's on top based upon the percentage price change of the last date, because I'm using the current date. Cruise lines, they've been very strong. They crossed over 4 days ago after having a pullback. Let's just bring that chart up. You can see this. Okay, the crossover was right here. You can see down here the 3 crossing the 6. Volume point of control also crossed, and this group has not looked back. The original crossover on the 3 crossing the 6 was back here, then a little pullback. You can see all the opportunities to get in to these groups and stocks. Semiconductor devices, these are up 1.9% today, but now I really get a feel for what's going on in the market today. Not looking at yesterday's data, I'm looking at today's data. Okay, I'm going to back up. Let's see here if there's anything else I want to show. Oh, I think I'll just move on from here. You get the idea that once you rebuild those indexes, you're looking at the current date for the indexes. I changed my mind. Let's do one more. These are the sectors by industry. So these are the sectors. Here's a sector change by industry. If I want to know which of the tech stocks groups are moving up the most, I just go to that, and here it's the semiconductor indexes, which is no surprise, closely followed by IT services, computer, hardware, and storage. Now this is all great, and you can go top down. Let me go back in here. Semiconductor devices, I'm going to change to the industry group, and I can see where the strength is based upon the percentage price change. But that's end of day. I want to go back down to intraday, and you can see the intraday percentage price changes. Percentage price change one day, and the percentages just happens to be in this column, in this view. And applied AAOI is the top stock based upon the percentage price move today. Now, let's just read across here on this one. Volume yesterday was very high. This is still yesterday's information. The spread was wide and the close was mid. When I look at this today, I can see that it's trading at 100% of its daily range, up 11.42%. Here's the intraday volume, the industry percentage price change. There was a VPA flag yesterday, a transfer of ownership, which means that it was sold into yesterday. How do I know that? Because the transfer of ownership VPA flag is right here, and you can see that it was sold into, but they're buying right back into it today. So where was the crossover on this stock? Right here. After this shakeout, prior to that, the crossover was clear back here. So I'm looking for crossovers, volume spikes with the volume pocket pivots. Look at all these blue lines here. It shows where strong volume is coming in to this stock. Cheap stock, but it's made a huge percentage gain from $2, around $2, up to over $6. Now, it only takes a few of these stocks to make you well in the market. And let me point out that I'll bring an arrow up here, that there was volume coming into this stock, all these blue bars. It doesn't show it here, but more volume than there was prior to it, more up volume. And then what do we have here? We have an effort to rise on the breakout. And then this is where traders get scalped. They chase that and it pulls back, shakes them out, even though it's a $2 stock. A lot of shares trading hands, of course. And then what do you have? You have a test followed by a confirmation of that test. The 3 is already above the 6. 6 is above the 18. It's moving. And here is more volume confirmation as it goes up. Let me wipe that off of there. And a great move. What is the move? I'm going to use my alternate A key. I have to bring this tool over from my other screen. With this and this, I can measure. I'm going to measure after the gap. To right here, I'll bring my arrow back up over, over 22 periods, it's up 162.6% from the top of the effort to rise to where it currently is. So a massive move with a tight chart. I need to go back to take control of this. Get rid of my annotations, get rid of this. Clear my screen. I'm going to hit my alternate W key, and this shows me a weekly chart. Look at this long base building here. Tried to break out back here, failed, then came back. It found support. The intrinsic risk was very low right here because it was finding support all along these lines, and then look what happened after it broke out. This is a stock that's been around for quite some time. I've been in and out of it over the years. Let's just look at the monthly with the alternate M. Look at this. At this point, it was over $100 stock. And this is why you don't buy and hold, especially if you bought up here. Let's do an annual. I'm going to do a yearly audit. Well, okay, that's the yearly chart. That's what I just showed you on the spike. So it's moving again. Well, they aren't making any money. Revenue has increased, but it's getting a favorable response in the market right now. Okay, now I'm going to, you can do this, you can do the top down. That's one way to do it, but I want to show you a more efficient way, in my opinion, to do it. I'm going to, I've already rebuilt the industry groups and they aren't going to change much, so I won't rebuild them. If I wanted to rebuild them, I could just click on this, go to industries and select tools, rebuild indexes and group. I'll do it just to make sure I'm current, because you can see how quickly they rebuild. And then after this, I'm going to rebuild my user smart groups. That takes a little over 30 seconds. Under the tools menu, rebuild user smart groups. If I only had a couple of user smart groups, or 10 or so, it would rebuild instantly. But I've got several user smart groups, so it takes this computer, especially when I'm recording, it takes about 30 seconds to do it, maybe a little bit longer. Almost there. When that hourglass stops, it means it's finished. Okay, next I'm going to just scroll up here. I'll go into all securities. I'll click on my warehouse views. I'll make this full screen. I'm going to click on this. And I'm going to move down here to this folder right here. Top-down stocks moving up and down. Apply to all securities, which I've done. And I'm going to go, these are end of day, these two groups here, but this is the intraday. This is where I want to be today because I've rebuilt the user smart groups. Now I have 4 options here to the upside and 4 to the downside. These are $15 and up stocks. These are 1 to 15. And these are sorted on industry groups. You can see that if I'm sorting on raw combo, I'm sorting on industry group, and look what's leading the list. Cruise lines. This group, as I pointed out earlier, has been extremely strong. Look at the Royal Caribbean. That passed 23 days ago to the upside for the 3-6 crossover and the VPOC. The relative strength is 97 and 98. It's up 2.36% today. No VPA signal yesterday, but let's take a look at it. This is the leader. And where was the crossover? Well, there was one crossover back here, and then there was a pullback here. Right here, you can see this. So that was an opportunity to get in. You follow these stocks with these crossovers, you'll find all kinds of opportunities. So the original buy point, look at the volume coming in. The VPOC is positive. 3 crossed the 6. Effort to rise and a huge move up. The group was starting to move up here. And then there was some profit taking here. There's an opportunity right here. 3 didn't go down below the 6. But this was a better opportunity. Volume coming back into it, as you can see. And it really hasn't looked back. All of these blue bars are opportunities to get in. These show up on my continuation filter, which is under my files. So even though if you miss this, these are opportunities. When there's volume coming in that's heavier than any down volume, either the 5 or 10 prior days. It's a different use of the Morales Casher pocket pivots. I'm just looking for volume coming in a stock that's trending. 3 above the 6. And when you see these blue bars or an effort to rise or both of them, that means their strength is continuing. Let's look at the weekly chart, alternate W. I'm going to use the same chart rather than switching. And you can see at one point in COVID, due to the COVID sell-off, it was clear down around $34. And there have been many buying opportunities, even on the weekly. These pullbacks and then reversals. Go back to the daily, alternate D with the alternate D keys. And I'm going to minimize this and let's go back to the warehouse view. So you can see the industry groups that are up. Here's how much they're up. I just rebuilt them, remember, so I can look at it this way. I can look up and down here to see where the crossovers are, how old the signals are, or I can move down to the same group, $15 and up, using a different combo with demand. So on the demand, look at the stocks that are most in demand based upon my strong momentum effort to rise column, which is based on the percentage price change, the range, and the volume. And look what's on top. Easy to find these stocks. You like to find fresh signals? Let's look at this one. I don't know this stock, NEO. It was negative on the both the VPOC and VPOC and the 3-6 cross. It's got HGSI relative strength is 93. Kirk is 70. Healthcare services, no VPA flag yesterday, but it's up 6.15% today. So let's just bring it up and see what's going on. And it's a biotech. It's forming a base right here. Trend is, even though the 200 is here, there's just a lot of resistance on this stock, and it's really loose. I wouldn't spend any time looking at that stock. But I brought it up because it had pulled back. Here's AI. I just happened to have some debit spreads on this one. It pulled back 7 days ago on both of them. You can see why it was falling. And then this is the reason I put some debit spreads on. I had a low volume test. I put them on that day, and there was a confirmation of that test yesterday with an effort to rise. And it's a profitable trade so far. I'm certainly not getting rich on it, but at least I'm in the trade, and it looks like it has a chance to go higher. This is one of those AI stocks. Well, it's called AI, isn't it? What the point is, it's showing up in these groups right here. These are 100 stocks that are in demand. They have to be up for the day or they wouldn't be in here. And when I click on the demand combo, word AI is number 8 on the list right now. So it's just a quick way to see which stocks are in demand. It's up 4% today trading. It's off its high. You can see that volume is running heavy. Here's a 90-day moving average volume. Pretty heavily traded stock. Remember, I'm not recommending any stock that I talk about. It's just that it happened to come up in this list. What I do like about it is the fact that it's got really high relative strength rankings, both with HGSI and Kirkpatrick. And it's in a group that is going up. Okay, you can just look at these. You can do a sort on these, or I'm going to quickly do this. I don't want to spend much time doing it. I go into this list right here. Here's a scorecard where I can see everything that's in here. It's sorted on a demand combo. If I'm looking for a stock that has pulled back recently from a high, I go to this impulse reaction scan. Let's look at this one here. Now, this is not a good example. I'm going to move on from that. What I'm looking for is a stock that's moved up and pulled back just a little bit. Here's a bullish 10-period crossover today. You can see that the VPOC is crossing over on all of these today. I'm in all securities here. What I want to do, I don't want to look at all securities. I want to go back to that group that I was looking at. I forgot to make a change, but that's easy to do. Rather than going back up here to the moving these smart groups, number 3, the filter is taking me in here and I have 100 stocks. What I can do is if I want to use my scans, I want to scan this group only. I can make this group, I can make a group here, a make group from list, or I can go to the source, and I'm going to go to the source. I'm going to click on the designer, and I'm going to go to my user smart groups, and see this right here, 100 stocks and groups moving up and down, rebuild user smart groups. If I go to the S&G up intraday, $15 and up, these are the same stocks. So if I flip back to the warehouse, now you can see that I'm in this group, and there's 100 stocks there. Now, because I've limited myself to this group, I can go in and use my other scans. I made a mistake. I didn't go to this first. So let's now click on the scorecard. Nothing much changes there. Let's go down to the impulse reaction. Let's look here now and see if I can find something decent. That's the same stock. This is not a really good example. Here's the impulse, and here's the reaction. It pulls back, and now it's going again. That's kind of what I'm looking for at this scan. I don't use that scan this much, but let's go to the VPOC crossovers today. Remember, I'm in this group, and these stocks all are crossing over today with the volume point of control. Let's look at CrowdStrike. I haven't looked at that for a long time. So what do I mean by the crossover? The VPOC down here at the bottom, and this would be yesterday's crossover. Not today, but it's following through today. How do I know it's following through today? Because it's in that group of 100 stocks that are going up. So here's the pullback and several VPA flags, and it looks like it's setting up again. Okay, let's do a couple more of these, and then I'm going to move on. This is 3-6 crossover with the VPOC positive. So these are crossing over with a 2-day window on the 3-6 crossover, and the VPOC is positive. Now this continuation indicator, I mentioned this briefly. Let me show you what this does. If you miss a trade, you miss a crossover, and you're still looking for stocks that are strong, and there are some confirming signals. Let's look at the filter. What I require here is that the volume pocket pivots show up, or the effort up VPA flag shows up. 100,000 minimum trade, not very much at all. The 3 has crossed the 6, and the 6 has crossed the 18. So these are moving up. The volume point of control is positive, and the close is, the opening's greater than the close. And so if the main things are the volume pocket pivots or the VPA flag effort up, but all these other things have to be true also. So you can see that it's positive on the 3 crossing the 6. That's what this column is. And the VPOC is also positive. And if I bring up, let's look at a different stock here. If I bring up a chart here, now there's no volume spike here, but there is an effort to rise. So this passes the filter. That was my other exception. If the effort to rise appears, or if these blue lines appear and the other conditions are true, the 3's above the 6, and the VPOC is positive, it's going to be a continuation situation. Let's do one more. Let's look at Dell Technologies. Probably a good example here. Once again, there's your effort to rise, and no volume spike here, but here's Here's the blue spike, so it would have shown up here. In this scan, it would have shown up here. Would have shown up here just before the pullback. All of these blue areas here. Here's both an effort to rise and the blue volume spike. Would have shown here several places. You can see that there is continuation after the initial crossover. It's best to catch them on the crossovers if you can, but if you miss them, you can use this continuation scan to see if you want to get into a stock. Always consider the risk, though, whatever you do. Now I want to do one more thing, and I'm going to end this video. I want to point out, going down here to the VPA gurus. Wyckoff, we all know Wyckoff. Tom Williams, you're probably familiar with Tom Williams. He's also passed several years ago, but he invented the Trade Guider software, which is VPA VSA based. Wyckoff was the original tape reader of VPA. I give credit to Karthik Marar, who actually released the VPA code in the public domain, and that's what's incorporated into HGSI. We can thank him for that. Now there's several ways to scan for VPA. There's individual scans. For example, let's see if anything in here came up with a test for supply yesterday. 2 of them did. Test for supply on an uptrend. These 2 stocks, if you look over here, you can see there was a test for supply. But I want to look at several VPA flags at once in this. So I'm going to go down here to bullish flag today, which would have been yesterday, 500,000 minimum, and I click on that, and all of these come up, and you can see all the VPA signals over here. We know that these stocks are all up today because I'm working with that user smart group, and these were the signals today and the prior day. Now on Carnival Corp, that's one of those cruise line stocks. Transfer of ownership yesterday, but an effort to rise the day before. If I bring this up, you can see there was a hesitation. That red circle in there means, if you look over here, transfer of ownership, because they were selling into it. But today that was totally ignored. In the strong market, the stock just continued to go up. Look at all these blue lines here for continuation. All the other conditions were met. 3 was above the 6. VPOC was positive. So you can see why I like to use that continuation scan to look for stocks that are on the move. It's not as safe as entry as like buying it coming out of here, but still, you know where there's demand. Okay, let's look. I'm just going to sort on these. Here's that test for supply. 3 of them, strength seen returning. No supply. Amazon has a no supply. Alphabet has a no supply. Coke, Euro-Pacific Partnership, and DoorDash all have no supplies. Let's just run through those quickly. Okay, here's your no supply. This is Alphabet. Here's Amazon. I'm clicking up here at the top. There's your no supply. Coca-Cola, no supply. And DoorDash, no supply. So the point is, if you want to work from a certain group, and let me bring my arrow up here. Remember, I'm using my user smart group, and now I'm looking for bullish signals in this group, and I'm picking out any stock that has a bullish flag because these are built into the filter. Just a quick way to narrow it down. Okay, I'm not going to do any more. This video is getting pretty long now. So this will probably serve as my weekend video. The market's still strong. I assume it's going to be strong going into the close, but obviously we never know. But I'm trying to show you some prospecting techniques, and as I go through the rest of the webinar series, we're going to be spending a lot of time on this, and I'm going to pause this just for a second. I wanted to bring this up. These are some of the things that going forward for the next few weeks I'm going to talk about. Price mechanics, structure, and direction. Structure refers to the high and low price of each bar. Directions of the relationship of the closing price to the opening price. Structural highs and higher lows as well. Higher highs and higher lows, and so on. And I'm also going to talk about pivot trends and price mechanics. So these are things I want to concentrate on over the next several or few, however many I do, sessions. And I'll do one session on debit spreads and prospecting for debit spreads because I trade quite a few debit spreads just to keep my risk levels down. Predefined risk. If there's a disaster, I know exactly how much I can lose and so on. So anyway, I'll spend one session on that. Thank you for listening, and have a great weekend and a great 4th of July. I'll have another webinar next Thursday. And that is the 6th of July, I believe. So I'll see you on Thursday. I doubt if I'll do any more videos between now and then. This will serve as the next video because now you know what I want to be focusing on for the rest of the sessions. Thank you for listening, and once again, have a great weekend and 4th of July.